The financial fallout from the Melbourne Storm's troubles is growing. The team has lost at least two of its biggest sponsors, ME Bank and Skins. The apparel maker went as far as to say it was, quote, appalled by the team's actions. There are likely more to come, with the Storm having at least 18 corporate sponsors ranging from News Limited, Suzuki, Channel 9, Harvey Norman, Gatorade, the City of Melbourne, and Intercontinental Hotels. Now, the team has been involved in a massive salary cap rort, which involved concealing $1.7 million worth of illegal payments to its top players over 5 years. And for more on that topic, we're joined by Shane MacDonald. He's Associate Director of accounting firm BDO. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Do appreciate your time. Just give us, in layman's terms as much as possible, what are the main corporate governance issues with what's happening with Storm right now?
Thanks, Nadine. From our experience at BDO and from the wealth of information that's been provided in media reports to date, and whilst not speculating on all that may have happened, the main corporate governance found at this stage would appear to be ensuring that there is an appropriate internal control environment whereby the board would be accurately informed of all of the financial commitments that it had, and that money that they had been received had been expended in accordance with their obligations.
Okay, so while we can't confirm many of the accusations yet, just tell us what could potentially happen to the Storm organisation then from a legal standpoint.
Well, an immediate concern at Storm we would expect would be securing its financial position now. It would have lost substantial funds from sponsors, and it has substantial monies to repay to the NRL. An immediate concern also will be for the board directors to ensure that they have complied with their obligations under the Corporations Act in respect of their duties to protect their organisation from losses from fraud. And those same principles apply to all major sporting clubs across Australia. And the magnitude of this alleged fraud really does represent a wake-up call to all major clubs in the sporting codes across the country.
Definitely. Do you think, though, that ASIC and other regulators are likely to become involved from here, Shane?
I would expect so. I think ASIC will have concern as to the extent to which evidence indicates that directors may have not complied with their responsibilities to protect the organisation and to fulfil those duties in accordance with the Corporations Act. And the ATO, for instance, may also be concerned in respect of the correct income disclosures by the respective players that may be impacted.
But can you legislate to keep these things from happening, do you think? Or is it a little bit, of the nature of the game when you're dealing with such public, groups as well as such large salaries?
I think that the regulatory bodies such as ASIC do have the appropriate pieces of legislation and enforcement processes there in place. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to the organisation to themselves to ensure that they are complying with such. The NRL have successfully identified this problem through their own processes. However, at the end of the day, it will come back to the members of the board to ensure that they have fulfilled their obligations that are placed upon them to protect their organisation.
What do you think, or what should other sporting boards and directors really take away from what's happening with the Storm right now?
Storm indicates that there is no room for complacency within the major codes across Australia. They need to ensure that they understand what the risks are that face their organisations by undertaking fraud and corruption risk assessments, then following that up with regular compliance reviews such as forensic audits to ensure that there is an appropriate internal control environment in place to ensure that they comply with the regulations and rules surrounding the way they are required to use their funds.
Do you think that sporting clubs are known to perhaps be less rigorous with compliance than other organisations?
Look, unfortunately, from our experience at BDO and from the known history of salary cap breaches in Australia, that is the case. We know that there's been significant breaches of salary cap rules in the AFL as well as the NRL in recent years. However, the magnitude of this alleged fraud will certainly represent a wake-up call to all of those clubs and as well as their stakeholders.
I think you touched upon it there, but just give us what your gut feeling is about this one. Is the practice widespread, and how easy is it to get away with something like this for quite some time?
Once again, we cannot speculate. We do not have the facts. We have reported allegations in the media. I'm quite certain that as investigations unfold, based on what is effectively only early days at this stage, that I'm sure there is a lot to learn in terms of mistakes that may have been made and how things could have been done better.
Okay, Shane MacDonald, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Do appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
That was Shane MacDonald. He was joining us from accounting firm BDO. He was joining us from Melbourne.